Hello, hello! Welcome back, book buds! If you are new here, my name is Mackenzie and I read a lot of books. And that's basically all you need to know. Welcome or welcome back. I am here today to go through all of the books that I read in January, which includes both ebooks and physical books. I'm really trying to get into audiobooks as well, but I have not been able to get into them yet, so no audiobooks today, but I will be talking about both the physical books and the ebooks that I have read. And yeah, so one thing you may notice is my cat is in this video again. I have really debated whether or not to kick him out because he's really annoying and can like hear him scratching and playing in the background. But given that like 3/4 of you are here for my cat and not for me, I've decided to let him stay. Whether that will be a good choice or not, we'll have to see. But alas, we are here, we are ready, let's jump right into things. So the first book that I read in January is Secret Puck, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and it is probably simply because it was what I needed when I needed it. The writing reminds me a lot of Elle Kennedy's writing, so like I loved that. It was a little bit of spice. It was kind of like floofy, honestly, and it was kind of what I needed when I needed it. I didn't want to have to try really hard to read a book. I just wanted to like lose myself in something easy, something fun, and that's exactly what it was. It was easy, it was fun, it was nothing really super special, but it was what I needed when I needed it, so that was a 5-star read for me. And the next book that I read is Breathless by Jennifer Nevin. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, and I couldn't get into it, but it is a good book. Do you ever read books and you're like, I personally cannot get into this for the life of me, but I know that it's a good book? Because that's this book for me. Like, it wasn't for me, but just because it wasn't a book for me doesn't mean that it's not a good book. I personally just like don't jive with the writing style of Jennifer Nevin. I don't love her other books, so I didn't really love this one either, but I really, really love how she connects herself into the story and how it's so deep and personal for her, and that just like kept me reading, I guess. And also Claude is the main character here, and Claude, I just connect with her a lot. Like, I connect with a lot of her feelings and stuff. I have no actual similarities with her, but I connect to a lot of her feelings. And so I thought that it was very weird to read that and be like, this is me, but it's not me, and I don't love this book, but like, this book is me. It's describing me while not being for me. That's a very peculiar way of describing it, but this was a 3-star book for me. It was okay, and if you like Jennifer Nevin, you'll like it, but I just am not a fan of Jennifer Nevin, and that's okay. And after that, I read The Tourist Attraction, and I'm not giving you like any information on any of these books. I'm just giving you my rating because there's too many books here for me to tell you what all of these books were about. But The Tourist Attraction is like, you know, wintry, holiday-y, and I read it for the first snow. I live in the Chicago area and it snowed for the first time, and I was like, oh, ding, 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 this was what I read, and it was also okay. I will say that I was in a reading slump at the beginning of this year, so it was just meh. It was 3 stars. Nothing special, but like kind of cute. I know a lot of people liked this one. It just like wasn't really for me. And I also haven't read any other holiday books. This is one of my first, so like maybe holiday books just aren't for me, because I've never really loved any of those. Like, they've never really appealed to me the way that they appeal to other people. It was just meh, so 3 stars. Oh, this one. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I buddy read this with my friend, and oh my god. Oh my god. It's like, it's an enemies to lovers. It's a book about writing books. It was everything that I needed and more. This was a 5-star for me. 5 out of 5 stars. And also, like, the best friend in this, like, we've got, like, the main character, January, but January's best friend, Shadi, like, she was just there. She was there when everybody needed her. And my friend and I'm January and she's Shadi. So, like, January and Shadi vibes. Like, I just, this was a really good book. This was a really good book. 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. If you haven't read Emily Henry, I would highly recommend it. I love her, and now she's an auto-buy author for me, so that's really fun. Then we have Siege and Storm, another buddy read with Savannah. I did Shadow and Bone. This is the second one, Siege and Storm. I really wish that I had liked Shadow and Bone more than I did. Like, I really liked it, and I was like, that's a 4-star read, but then going with, like, watching the Netflix show first, and then reading the book, I was like, I don't know, it kind of ruined a little bit for me. But this one was also a 4-star read. I have realized that I don't love these as much as everybody else does, and I think that I just went in with too high of expectations for the series in general. So, I mean, it was okay, but it's not my favorite, but so many people love it, and I see why they do, and it's a good book, but, like, I couldn't get into it. It didn't appeal to me. Like, I can't, okay. I love fantasy writing, but I can't get into it. Like, I don't understand it because it doesn't take place in our world. I don't understand what's going on. It's very, very hard for me to read fantasy, and so it's not something that I can just easily enjoy and devour, even if it's not a hard book. And the book academically, like linguistic-wise, not a hard book, but for me, trying to understand, like, the Grishaverse and stuff, it was a challenge. So I don't know, it was definitely a harder book for me to read, and so it was just another 4 stars for me, but so many people love this book and these series in general, so, like, that's good for them, I suppose. After that, I read Losing the Field, and normally I'm a really, really big Abby Glines fan. I love her so much, but it just didn't do it for me. So it had, like fat phobia, like, the main character just, like, lost a lot of weight and then suddenly became the love interest. And I'm like, that's just wrong. I don't like that. And then, like, teacher preying on student vibes, no. And, like, the main character, like, just is kind of an asshole, and I only got 100 pages into it before I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me. I give up, and I did give up, and that's okay. So I did not finish it, so it didn't count towards my reading goal. My Goodreads goal this year is 125 books, so I've read 11 of those 125 so far, and it's not counted for me because I didn't finish it, so it does not count. But that was my opinion on that. I love all of Abby Glines' other books. That one was not for me, though. And then after Losing the Field, I read The Inheritance Games, and if you saw my other video, I'm obsessed with this. I bought the Hawthorne Legacy immediately after. I would love to read the 3rd book. I can't wait till the 3rd book comes out. I'm obsessed with this. Absolutely obsessed. This was 5 stars. I whipped through this. This was another buddy read for me. I've decided that I'm obsessed with buddy reading, so if anybody wants to buddy read something with me, let me know, because I just think that that's really fun. But this was really good. This was so good. So good. 5 out of 5 stars. It's a YA book. It's like a mystery fiction type thing, and it's not my normal vibe, but it was everything I needed and more, and I loved that. And then after that, I read Falling for Your Best Friend, and I really liked that one as well. That one got a 5 out of 5 stars, and it was the same type of vibe. Like, I'm kind of in a reading rut. I don't really know, like, what to read next, because after the Inheritance Games, like, nothing's gonna stack up to that. And after I DNF'd losing the field, I was like, so I just needed something like light and floofy and easy, and Falling for Your Best Friend was that and more. And also the cover was yellow, so like, I love that. I love yellow covers. Yellow is just my vibe. I really liked it. I thought it was really cute, and it was something that I could easily just like whip through and lose myself in, and it was what I needed when I needed it. If I wouldn't reread it, because if I would have read it at any other time, it probably wouldn't have been as good for me. But because I read it at the time that I did, 5 out of 5 stars, all the love in the world for this. And then after that, I read People We Meet on Vacation, and I had such high expectations for this one after reading Beach Read, and I've seen People We Meet on Vacation all over social media, and I'm like, I want this, I have to read it, and everybody's been saying such good things about it. A lot of people like People We Meet on Vacation more than they like Beach Read. Not me. I liked Beach Read so much more than People We Meet on Vacation. People We Meet on Vacation was still a 4-star read for me, and I would still recommend it, but Beach Read was so much better than this one for me, just because this was like friends to enemies to lovers, and it goes between present day and like past tense. What's it called? Like in the past, I guess. It just went from the present to the past, and I didn't like the flip back and forth. Like, I just like reading everything in the present, and you need the past to like understand the present, but I don't know. It was a 4-star read. It was really good. I'm still buying Emily Henry's new book when it comes out this year, but this was not my favorite. I preferred Beach Read so much more, and I've already reread Beach Read because it was that good. So there's that. And then after People We Meet on Vacation, I read Bad Crush because I read Secret Puck earlier in the month and I loved it. It was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. And then I read Bad Crush, which is by the same author, and it's like in the same series too. And it just like, it wasn't at the right time, you know? Like, I read Secret Puck when I needed it. I needed something light, I needed something floofy, I needed something that I didn't really have to think about, and that was it. And it was 5-star reads, and I was like, wow, that was really good. Read Bad Crush, and I was like, this is not what I need when I needed it. So it was more like a drag on for me, and I didn't love it as much. So that was only a 3-star. It was meh, but it was by the same author, so I feel like it should have been better than it was, but I just didn't read it at the right time. So take that as you will, take it with a grain of salt, who knows about that. And then of course we have Ruin and Rising, so 3rd book in the Shadow and Bone series, also 4 stars. I will say this is the best book out of all of them, but it was also the one that I was the most lost in. So as I said earlier, fantasy is just really hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to understand what's happening when, but like Shadow and Bone, the first one, was the easiest to understand, and then as it kept going, it delved deeper into the fantasy world, so that made it a lot harder for me to understand. But even though it was harder for me to understand, the books kept getting better. So this one was easily the best in the trilogy, but it was hard for me to understand, so it was still only 4 stars. Every book in the trilogy got 4 stars. It was a 4-star trilogy for me. I know people like it more than I did, but people also hated it more than I did, so I don't know. It was okay for me. I probably wouldn't reread it just because it was so hard for me to understand the entire trilogy, and it was a lot of brain work for me, but it was a cute book, and it ended very nicely, and I really liked that, so like, I like that. I will let the trilogy be what it is. 4 stars, very nice writing, very unique, love, 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 but don't understand it. And then we have The Love Hypothesis. Now this was a reread for me. I've got the uncorrected proof. This is all the way back from August for me, and I have reread this so many times. 5 out of 5 stars. I'm obsessed with it. Everybody is obsessed with it. Like, there's really only a couple of people that I've met that did not like this book, and why they don't like it, I just don't know. That's not my business. But like, this is it. This is it. This is everything everybody needs and more. It is a comfort book for me. And just after kind of like mushing through some DNFs and some 3-star reads and yada yada yada, a reread was what I needed. And I did count this in my like number of books read in 2021. It's 2022. I did count it in my number of books read in 2022 simply because I read the entire book. Some people don't count rereads. I think that it's fair to count rereads. I mean, I reread books all the time, so I counted it. Plus, I haven't read it yet this year. This is a reread from last year, so I counted it. 5 out of 5 stars. I will always recommend this book. If you haven't read it, you need to. And those are all of the 11 books that I read and the 1 book that I DNF'd from January. However, I am in the middle of 2 more books. So The One True Me and You, this is also an advanced reader's copy. I'm really excited. This comes out in March. I'm about halfway through, and I'm going to do probably a Tuesday tea on it simply because it's really good and I really want to talk about it further. This probably, I don't know if I'll finish it, probably not, but in the middle of this one, maybe it'll be a January read, maybe it's a February read, but somewhere in the middle. And then I also started buddy reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Is it Hugo or Hugo? I feel like Hugo would be like with an E, but I don't know. English is just really hard for me. It is my first language. It is the only language that I speak, but English is just really hard for me. But I read this, like 10 pages of it. I'm very behind. I am buddy reading this with my friend Cheyenne, and by buddy reading this, I mean that I'm on chapter 6 and she's on chapter 30, and that's that. It's a really hard book for me, but everybody loves it and it's really good so far, so there's that. That is my update from that book, and I will definitely be talking about this in February because I'm not far enough into this to count this as a January read. So that is that. Those are all of the books that I have read in January. That is my cute little January wrap up. And look at that. Gremlin was not horrible in the background. I think he just took his toy elsewhere, so he must have left us in the middle of this. But those are all of the books that I've read in January, and some were good, some were bad, some were just in between, and I'm hoping to read some more books in February. I'm kind of like in this reading rut of like, I want to read more, but at the same time, you feel a lot of pressure to read like a ton of books when you're making book content, and it's getting like hard for me to catch up and like enjoy the books that I'm reading. So I'm hoping that in February I kind of take a step back and just take a breath and just read a couple of books, but really like take my time and enjoy them and like put all my love into them, if that makes any sense. But yeah, those are my January books. What did you read in January? Let me know if you have any suggestions to add for my February TBR, what I should be reading in February or what I should read next. And I will see you all real soon. Bye!